Hello and welcome to Reviews. As always, I'm Plume Noir, and I was not planning on picking up this book. As you may have seen in previous videos, I did the first couple issues. I did like two or three of them, and realized that this book, even though it says that it's rated Teen Plus, this has to be aimed at girls aged like 5 to 7. There's no way that this book is aimed at teenage girls. And, I think I said even in the first issue that I'm not really comfortable reviewing it because I'm not the target audience. It's aimed at someone who's much younger than I am. But I said since it's Teen Plus and I am age Teen Plus, I think I can say stuff about it. And it's not very good. The first issues I picked up weren't good. I happened to see this cover, and I remembered that this was the last issue. And it struck me as weird. Just to go on the cover for a second, um, I've always been kind of weirded out by the whole giant woman thing. Um, the 50-foot woman. And I realized when I looked at this cover, I'm even more creeped out when it's a teenage girl, because the problem is that the way I see it is, you have all the people on the ground, and yeah, we see the other shots, far away shots, but they're all just looking up at her crotch. They're not going to see her face. They're just going to see, her gooch. What was really creepy about this is we have her friends down here, right? They're looking up at her, and the one is taking pictures. I'm not even sure how she's able to see her face from that angle, but that's just kind of weird to me. But anyway, I figured, you know what, let's just take a look at this last issue. And it's still, I can only assume that because it was canceled, Jeremy Whitley had to just really start writing, and it's really bad. The dialogue is bad. The story is bad, and they don't seem to understand failure. Is the modern SJW comics creators do not understand failure. Now, I said before they don't understand science, which is appropriate. If you read this, if you read the earlier issues, but they don't understand failure either. And this book failed. It failed twice. This is the second volume. They brought it back, and it still failed. And we'll come to that at the end. I'll get to the last goodbye page. Um, so yeah, I haven't been reading this. I haven't, I think I read issues 1, 2, and 4. You didn't read anything, JR, so you go away. Um, and so the girls have been captured. The agents of Girl. They're the group that she's in. Um, Mockingbird and Winter Soldier went to the Red Room for some reason. We get a page here that doesn't really seem to affect the rest of the story. It may have been important in the previous issue, but doesn't really affect too much here. We come here to Janet Van Dyne, which is, I always screw up the name, the Giri Huru. Um, I liked the art style in Gwenpool, but here it looks just even more rushed. I can only assume that's because the bad guy has taken control of Janet Van Dyne. Or Astro Boy. One of the two. I'm not sure which it is. Um, so they've captured all the agents, and agent's a girl. Um, and so, of course, Nadia is trying to stop them, and, she lectures that, you use technology that you've stolen but don't understand. I invented it, so that, therefore, I know how to counter it. Now, here's the funny thing. The bad girl was just threatening to kill Janet, threatening to kill her friend, phase her hand into her brain. And look at that. See, this is what I say, that this book is aimed at like 5 to 6 year old girls. And even then, it's not very well done. So when Nadia kicks her off the ledge, then she says, she screams, no. And, is all upset by it. They just try to kill your friend. You're aware of that, right? Just tried to kill your surrogate mom. Yeah. Maybe she's just upset since she kicked her, and if she fell to her death, she'd be a murderer. So while the rest of the agents of Girl are captured, AIM is teleporting everyone else somewhere else. And of course, the issues I read where they had the little budding romance. Apparently, the flirting, the attraction. They eventually started dating these two girls, which I'm not even going to bother to learn their names. And so while they're captured, they're being held captive. They start doing well, it's good to know how many evil scientist underlings your girlfriend can take out in order to save you. Kiss me. Remember, they're captured right now, so they're just going to start making out. At least even their friend is upset, is like, almost face palming on this. And then we cut to the other one here, the one that's on crutches, and, she says, stupid thing, of course you would blow a fuse right now. The one time Tanya Murata is in the right place at the right to be... Wait, what? The one time that Tanya Murata is in the right place to be at the right... Do you mean the right place at the right time? Did you forget to put the word time in there? Oh god, a good editor would have caught stuff like this. But, who is the editor of this book? Who is the editor? It's Alana Smith. So it's not a good editor. Jesus Christ. So, she, gets stopped by the AIM agents. And that's when the plants come out of nowhere and start grabbing people. And then whatever project she was working on, it's alive. So Nadia's trying to get out of this room here that she's sealed in. The plant helps lift up a corner. And, of course, she can shrink so she can escape. And then, of course, we get her lines. Science ladies, let's have a science adventure. You remember when she was saying stuff like science gun? You just don't put science in front of stuff. People who actually are scientists don't do stuff like this. Science is not just one big, overarching type thing. It's like, I don't know. I'd like saying, hey, let's go baseball players and let's go baseball together. No, there are different disciplines within science. I work in a science field. I have a STEM degree. Just stop. Just stop. I know you're trying to get women in science, and I'm all for that. This is not how you do it. I really don't want to cover too much of this issue, because I really want to get to the main meat, which is the last page, but, it gets kind of goofy. Apparently, the girl on the crutches had built a doom buggy, but it also turns into a robot, a mech that she pilots, and, she even shouts out, that wasn't even my final form. You know what? She's a teenage girl. She would shout a meme. You know what? I'm not even going to send this. I'll allow that one. And then of course the villains here. The main villain starts yelling. I think it's Seeker. Hit the button. Hit the button. Okay. Just give me a. Now she has a button that it's not actually a button. It's a dial. I mean, it looks like this. If you look, you can see it. But you find out to turn it off, she has to turn the dial. So why was she waiting? Yeah, yada yada. Turns out, one of them developed the powers over plants. That's where the plants came from. So she caught the trigger device before it went into the science lava volcano, and and I just want to go through a few more pages here because there's a funny thing on here where they have a portal and the villain escapes and then blows up the portal on her side, which means that the portal on the girl's side is actually going to create almost like a singularity where it's going to suck everything up and get lost between dimensions. So of course everyone's getting sucked into it. Yeah, look at this panel. I got you, bros. I love you, giant robot bro. She's clearly a rad science mech bro. Really? So, Nadia becomes giant-sized to grab to grab people to save them from being sucked into the portal, while the other girl, the one that's in the relationship, is racing to get the lever, to turn off the portal. Now, I could see several ways that they could have gotten out of this when all you need to do was flip a lever. But what's interesting about this is, she's saying that, I got you guys. I'm going to get us all out. Come on, Nadia. Everyone's depending on you. And her friend hits the lever, shuts it down, saves everyone. Nadia did not even save everyone in her own book. You remember the whole thing about her being giant-sized on the cover here, and that seemed to be a big deal. It's even brought up she's never gone giant before. Yeah, she grabs the people for a second. She did not even save the day in her own book, in the last issue of her own book. She, this is like a level up thing, developing a new power and using it to save the day. Wow, she's kind of thick there, isn't she? The thigh to waist thing here, huh? They always draw. It doesn't seem to be so much like that, but in that panel, girl thick. Anyway, she levels up, and it's the last issue of her own series, the second volume of her own series, and she did not even save the day. I just want that to sink in for a minute. So, I'm going to stop. I've been going through this pretty quickly because the story is forgettable. It's really stupid. If I actually sat through and read this for a third time, I would probably have a science aneurysm. So the one escapes, but now they have a bunch of the other girls that were part of AIM, and they tell Nadia basically the truth about her father, Hank Pym, and how he's part Ultron, and how Janet's been keeping that from her. A lot of this, again, had someone told her at the beginning instead of just hinting that they knew things, and yeah. But it turns out it's no big deal. Yeah, your father is part Ultron, but he's not really your father anymore, Janet says, and yeah, but when you decide to hunt him down, I understand if you want to talk to him. And then the next several pages are Nadia in therapy. And again, a lot of it is the whole self-congratulation, the validation, and, she's symbolically grown as a person who's dealt with bipolar, and yeah, it's bad. It's pages and pages. A little bit of cleanup. Oh, even the West Coast Avengers got involved to help with the cleanup, but it was kind of silly because only a couple of them worked. Yeah, it's the ending of the story is Nadia talking to her therapist with Janet, and discovering that the world is the group is better with her in it, and yeah, then we get this. Who is this person? A queer trans person named Julie Johnson, which yeah, I'm not even going to touch on that. Fine, whatever. Isn't a queer trans person just straight wearing the other? No. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. You'll piss people off. I don't understand it. So, but anyway, the last page. This is the goodbye, and to all my ages of girl. I love that I have a job where I get to tell stories. It's a job I've wanted since I was 5, and I still haven't gotten tired of it. Sometimes there are roadblocks, and sometimes there are stories you just have to finish, even though you may not feel enthusiastic about them. But that's what makes it a job and not a hobby. And as you do it more, you start to realize that not every story has the luxury of being important. Some stories are fun. Some stories are puzzles, and once they're solved, there's a little novelty to them. Some stories are just gigs. So yeah, he goes through and talks about how they're finishing up. He gives his thanks. Of course, Mark Waid is name dropped. And most of all, I'm thankful to Alana Smith. Alana has been my editor for both volumes of Unstoppable Wasp, and she's just as much a part of this as Nadia, Janet, and I. It has been her guidance that helped me turn this from a well-intentioned story to a truly well-told story. Now, I don't think so. No, you can't say that you have a well-told story when you are still saying, use your science guns. So it goes on a little bit. I got to write an important story here. I got to tell a story that incorporated issues from mental health, sexuality, gender expression, found family, race, ethnicity, culture, and science. Eh, Aimed at 5-year-olds maybe. And the responses I got from people both in person and online will never leave me. There's been some crying on both ends. Really? And the idea that thanks to these 10 issues of comic books, I know for a fact that readers have both recognized themselves and Nadia and gone to therapy, and at least one friend and reader has come out publicly about her sexuality, are the sorts of things that can't be canceled. Okay, right now, in the current culture, and I'm not talking about just comics, I'm talking about everywhere, this has been the easiest time to come out if you're gay. And I say this because I have gay friends. As you know, I'm a little bit older here. I remember, I have some friends that are gay. We grew up together, and I always suspected they were gay, but you never pointed it out. You never asked. And it wasn't really polite. It was too hard back then to come out as gay. And you want to go back even farther into like the 70s or even worse into the 50s, where that was almost a career killer. Right now is the easiest time to come out as being gay because you have all the media supporting you. You have all the media propping you up. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is not really a bad thing. But I refuse to believe that someone came out as gay, you know, even a teenager, because of this comic book. I refuse to believe that when you can turn on every TV show, okay, maybe not every TV show, but you could turn on just any form of media these days, and you have, the representation. I refuse to believe that this failing book, this book that was canceled because of low sales, was what enabled someone to come out. No, you're propping yourself up. You're trying to make it seem like you've done something good when actually you couldn't sell a comic book. Um, we've done some good here, and hopefully, along with Nadia, we've spread some hope. Thank you for being here, blah, blah, blah. In the long scope of things, everything is a limited series. But hope is ongoing. Share your love for the book, and maybe we'll come back to tell more stories. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a volume 3. Yeah, if Marvel Comics makes a volume 3 of Unstoppable Wasp with you guys at the helm under Alana Smith, then they're stupid. Because that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. Oh, but wait a minute. Comics have come back before and did better after being canceled. Look at X-Men. X-Men was originally canceled and it came back. And look how popular it is. Yeah, people like to use that argument. But when X-Men, the original X-Men was canceled before Giant Size X-Men, revitalized the series, the book was a bi-monthly reprint book. It is the definition of the exception. When books get canceled, they very rarely come back, and especially with the same creative team, and then thrive later. The whole find their audience thing does not happen as often as people like to claim, as often as the SJW creators, because as you know, they have all the comics journalist media shilling for them, and they have their woke people on Twitter, yet they can't sell comics. Alana and Giriharu and I will all have more books, yeah. In fact, I'm already writing Future Foundation as we speak. Yeah, I saw some ads for that, and I will definitely not be picking that up now. And I'm a Fantastic Four fan, and yeah, I am not going to be picking up that book. But in the meantime, please share these stories. Please share hope. Yeah, no, you don't understand failure. Your book failed not once, it failed twice. You were given a second chance, only because Alana Smith is a bad editor. I mean, there is no reason why in these comics, in these books, we're constantly getting stuff like this. I can understand the writer Jeremy, missed a line. We've all done it. But that's why you have an editor that goes through and should be paying attention to stuff like this. Or, in this case, whoever did the lettering should have realized that they left out a word. At some point, maybe Jeremy had it in and the letterer forgot to put it. forgot to put the word place. But, the right place at the right time. Sorry, the right time. Um, but the editor should have caught that. Maybe she did. She just Alana didn't care. Alana just said, "Yeah, let it go." Who's reading this book anyway? Couple thousand? It doesn't matter. They don't even have to have any type of quality because the books are not going to sell. They're going to limp along, but this is aimed at young girls. Like I said, it's teen plus, so we don't have to put the effort into it. While I was never a teen girl, I was a young boy. I read comics as a kid. I read comics as a teenager. I read comics as an adult, and I can tell you, if I was still a young boy and I read this book, I would be, this is stupid. Maybe if I was 5, but I got to skip stuff here. It is bad, and I have trouble I have trouble believing you're finding your audience, with girls and trying to get them into science. And yeah, you've had things throughout the series with the interviews, and hey, that's cool. Give more real examples. I'm actually okay with this. But your audience, the girls that are interested in science are going to be insulted by this. This is why you got canceled. You don't understand your target audience. You don't understand what you're talking about. But you have an in and you have a friend that is the editor and will go to bat for you. And then when they finally step down and cancel your book, you're going to basically pat yourself on the back and say, well, we've done great things. I've read 4 of the 10 issues. I've read 40% of the issues, and you would think by the end it would have gotten better. It did not. You got canceled once, you got canceled twice. Why do you think you're coming back? You don't understand why you failed. I actually wasn't planning on picking up this book, but, hey, at least I don't have to worry about picking it up again, right? So we still have, coming up this week, we still have Domino Hot Shots. I still have Faithless, and, I got a few more things here, and so stick around, and you'll be seeing those videos, and probably do another one tomorrow here, probably tomorrow night. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.